Women are told what men want, but when you look closely, their behavior paints a very different picture. And today, we're going to call that out. As women, we're constantly bombarded with messages. We're asking too much. We're too masculine, too independent, not traditional enough, not fulfilling our roles. But let's be honest, if the men saying these things took half the energy they spend criticizing us and turned it towards looking in the mirror, they'd see who's really not fulfilling their roles. Spoiler alert, it's not women. Like I mentioned on last Friday's episode, the message men give out is not the life they actually live. And the contradictions in dating are everywhere. Men say they want modest, traditional women, but who are they following online? Bikini models. Who are they giving attention to? The exact opposite of what they claim to value. And then, in the same breath, they talk down to those women. How does that make any sense? Either way, you can't win. If you're traditional, you get overlooked. If you're confident in your sexuality, you're chastised. Here's another one. Men say they want women like our moms or our grandmas. But then they brag on podcasts about not paying for the first dates. Excuse me, any man from those generations would never take out a woman and not pay for them. If you want to go back to the 1950s, then remember, back then, if a guy asked a woman to split the bill, that would have never been accepted. And let me be clear. I don't think women should take on those traditional roles. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of expecting women to do it while men refuse to hold up their end. If it's so easy to act traditional, why do men struggle so hard with it? Another contradiction, men expect us to play the role of their mothers, cleaning up, cooking, reminding them of basic life tasks. But when it comes to giving us security, stability, or understanding, suddenly that becomes optional. Or the money argument. Men love to say women only want them for their money. But let's be real, most of them don't have money to begin with. And if they're not bringing respect, consistency, or partnership to the table, then yes, money is the only thing left. How can they be mad about women noticing this? Then there's the cheating. Some men genuinely believe it's fine for them to sleep around as long as they make their women feel respected. But most women don't feel respected or safe when their partner is sleeping with other women. Respect isn't flowers, it's fidelity. And jealousy. Men say they won't allow their girlfriends or wives to travel with friends or go out to bars or clubs because supposedly we'll be surrounded by guys we just can't resist. Meanwhile, they're free to go wherever they want, meet whoever they want, and sleep with whoever they want. Don't you see how insane that is? Here's the truth. I'm not a big drinker or partier, but if a friend visits me and I want to go out, I will. If there's a celebration I want to attend, I will. That should never be a fight. If you can't trust me to go out a few times a year, then you don't trust me at all, and you shouldn't be with me. And the funniest thing is, every time I've been in a relationship and I've gone out, I've thought, thank God I'm not looking for someone new, and it makes me miss the person I'm with much more. I'm not going out there searching for the first guy to sleep with. I'm living my life and enjoying time with my friends and that shouldn't be a problem. And here's the sad part. A lot of these contradictions don't come from real life experience. They come from these podcast bros. Men are getting their information from guys who are purposely feeding them inflammatory tales, while they themselves are living lives that don't match their own advice. They rant about women online, but behind the scenes, they're dating much younger women who are only with them for their money, or they're with the very women they claim to despise. We can't forget the Andrew Wilson debacle. The funny thing is, men don't even need to guess what women want. We're literally shouting it. We want equal partnership, someone who can carry their own weight financially, emotionally, and in everyday life. Someone honest, respectful, and consistent. It's actually pretty simple. But instead of listening, too many men try everything except the things we tell them are attractive. And nothing makes an independent woman run faster than being mansplained about what she really wants when she's already laid it out clearly. And then there's the nostalgia. So many men look back at the 1950s as the golden age of relationships, but they forget what the responsibilities were for men in that era. Back then, if a man couldn't provide for his family 100% financially, he wasn't considered to be fulfilling his duty. And let's be real, it's nearly impossible today, yet men romanticize women's responsibility from that time while ignoring the fact that they themselves can't live up to the male role of the same era. Let's not forget, women in the 1950s had very few rights. Many couldn't leave an unhappy marriage, couldn't provide for themselves, and often had no choice but to marry just to leave the home. The world has changed. Today, women can do all of that on their own, and that's exactly why clinging to these outdated rules doesn't make sense anymore. And here's the thing, these contradictions don't stop in dating. They carry right into marriage. Now, I haven't been married myself, so I won't pretend to know what happens behind every closed door. But like many of us, I've watched my friends' marriages from the outside. And what I see is that in a lot of cases, it doesn't work out very well for the women. Most women I know are working full-time jobs. On top of that, have the majority of the child care and household duties. They're stretched thin, they're stressed out, and they're often begging for help that never comes. And that's when it really hits you. These double standards aren't just a dating problem. They're baked into marriages too. For a lot of self-sufficient women, the trade-off just doesn't make sense. The freedom and the balance we have in singleness compared to the imbalance we see in marriage doesn't make it feel worth it. What really opened my eyes to this was when I was younger, I started doing hair. Like many young women, I had this fairy tale idea of marriage. You find your person, you settle down, and everything works itself out. But anyone who's been a hairdresser knows women tell you everything. I heard the real unedited version of what was happening behind closed doors. And honestly, I was shocked. I remember thinking so clearly, they're selling us a lie about marriage because so many of these women weren't happy at all. And that was the moment I realized this isn't just about dating. It's about the bigger picture of how relationships are set up. And all of this leads to the bigger question: what is the impact? Because these contradictions don't just stay in the dating world, and they affect both men and women in huge ways. For women, the impact is obvious. We're labeled as shallow, gold diggers, or man haters. When we try to have honest conversations about what we're looking for and what's missing in relationship, we're dismissed, ignored, and we're told we're asking too much. That leaves us feeling undervalued, unheard, and frankly, exhausted. The double standards and lack of communication create burnout and resentment. And that's why so many women are choosing singleness. Not because they don't want love, but because the trade-off feels too heavy. But the impact on men is just as real. When they're told the reason they don't have girlfriends is because of things they can't control, height, looks, money, they stop trying. They internalize the idea that they're doomed to fail. And here's the tragedy. If they were being told the truth, they'd realize what women are actually asking for is something they can control. Respect, consistency, effort, emotional maturity. Those are the things that build meaningful relationships. So instead of listening to these podcast bros who feed them lies, men could be building the very qualities that women are openly saying we want. And if they did, they'd find that relationships aren't about perfection. They're about partnership. After looking at all of this, the contradictions in dating, the cultural roots, and how it plays out in marriage, the truth is clear. Women aren't asking for too much. We're simply more aware of the risk and responsibility that comes with relationships. We see the expectations, we see the imbalances, and many of us are asking, why give up what we already have for something that literally doesn't measure up? What we're really looking for isn't complicated. We want men who value us not just for our looks, but for our minds, our personalities, and the unique qualities that make us who we are. We want someone who we can respect, not because we're forced to take care of them, but because they show up as equal partners. That's what real partnership is: recognizing the value each person brings and building something balanced together. So no, women aren't asking too much. We're asking for respect, consistency, and partnership. And if that feels like too much to someone, maybe the problem isn't women. It's the expectations men have been taught to hold. I hope you got something out of today's episode. If you did, share it with someone who might enjoy hearing it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, where we'll keep diving in to different perspectives. Thank you so much.